He was the most powerful man in Rome, even without wearing a crown. Sejanus controlled the empire from the shadows, manipulating the emperor himself. But in a single day, he lost everything. How did a common man get so close to dominating Rome, only to fall in a brutal and shameful way? Imagine a commander of the Praetorian Guard, the most feared and influential force in Rome, capable of eliminating any rival. Sejanus had no noble blood, but he knew how to play the game of power. With cunning and manipulation, he convinced Tiberius, the reclusive emperor, to trust him blindly. He sidelined allies, eliminated rivals, and consolidated his dominance. But in Rome, the higher you climb, the more brutal the fall. What makes Sejanus' story so fascinating and tragic is that it serves as an eternal lesson: uncontrolled ambition, betrayal among allies, and the weakness of an absent leader can destroy even the most cunning men. Sejanus believed absolute power was within his grasp, until he realized too late that Rome never forgives excessive ambition. How did Sejanus manipulate Tiberius to the point of ruling the empire in his name? What conspiracies and murders did he orchestrate? And most importantly, how was he destroyed in a stunning blow when he seemed invincible? Sejanus' fall was swift, cruel, and public, revealing the deadly dangers of political games in Rome. In today's video, you'll dive into the meteoric rise and brutal fall of Sejanus, the man who almost controlled Rome. We'll unravel his dark alliances, the palace intrigues, and the moment everything crumbled. You'll understand how one single decision sealed his fate and changed the course of the empire. If you love stories of power, betrayal, and ambition in the Roman Empire, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we unearth the dark secrets that shaped Rome and reveal the eternal lessons these stories have to teach. Let's keep this history alive together. Imagine a man who rose to command the most feared force in Rome, the Praetorian Guard, without noble blood, royal lineage, or a crown on his head. Sejanus was not born into power. He carved his way there with cunning, manipulation, and an unmatched ability to play the political game. Rome was an empire governed by emperors, but for a moment, it was Sejanus who pulled the strings. His influence over Emperor Tiberius, who had distanced himself from the heart of power, was so absolute that Sejanus was able to eliminate rivals and rewrite the rules of Rome. Tiberius, choosing isolation on the island of Capri, unwittingly handed Sejanus control of Rome. With the emperor absent, Sejanus became the face of authority, the hand that wielded both punishment and reward. The Praetorian Guard, once the protectors of the emperor, transformed into Sejanus' private army. He orchestrated the deaths of those who stood in his way, including members of the imperial family. This was no longer loyalty to the emperor. It was a carefully laid path to absolute power. But what makes Sejanus' rise even more shocking is how unnoticed it went at first. Rome's political elite failed to realize that the commander of the guard was silently becoming its most dangerous ruler. He didn't need a throne. The shadows of power were safer and more effective. By presenting himself as Tiberius' most loyal servant, Sejanus avoided suspicion, even as he dismantled the empire's hierarchy piece by piece. But how far could this calculated act of loyalty take him before someone began to see through the illusion? The cracks, as always, began to show. No rise to power comes without enemies. While Sejanus believed he controlled Rome, others watched his moves closely. How long could he maintain this delicate balance of power before his enemies struck back? And what would happen if the emperor himself decided to turn on the man he once trusted more than anyone? Sejanus built his empire on loyalty. At least, that's what he made everyone believe. To Tiberius, he was a trusted confidant, the commander who ensured stability in Rome while the emperor lived in exile. But beneath this carefully curated image, Sejanus was the architect of betrayal. He plotted against the very people he vowed to protect. His loyalty to Tiberius was a mask, hiding his ambition to claim power for himself. One of his most infamous moves was the elimination of Germanicus' family. Germanicus, a beloved Roman general and heir to the throne, had already died under mysterious circumstances. Sejanus used that death to his advantage, whispering poison into Tiberius' ear, convincing him that Germanicus' wife and children were threats to his rule. Slowly, the family was destroyed, one false accusation at a time, cementing Sejanus' power while eliminating potential rivals. But even this wasn't enough. To secure his position, he began seeking alliances with those closest to the imperial line, perhaps eyeing a path to marry into the ruling family himself. Here's where Sejanus' contradictions became most apparent. To Rome, he appeared as a stabilizing force, the man who kept chaos at bay. But behind the scenes, he thrived on creating that very chaos. He dismantled families, silenced opposition, and made Rome's political climate so dangerous that no one dared oppose him openly. It wasn't just political genius. It was a game of survival where only Sejanus knew the rules. But in games like these, no one can maintain control forever. Sejanus' enemies began to grow. Tiberius, once blind to his manipulations, started to see the shadows moving around him. Whispers of rebellion and betrayal began to reach Capri. Could it be that Sejanus had underestimated the very man he sought to manipulate? What happens when the puppet master realizes the strings are being cut one by one? Sejanus had spent years perfecting his control over Rome, but the one thing he couldn't control was Tiberius' growing suspicion. The emperor, though physically removed from the capital, was far from powerless. Tiberius began to question the loyalty of the man he had once trusted with his empire. Letters exchanged between Rome and Capri became the emperor's new weapon, a silent conspiracy to bring down Sejanus without raising alarms. Tiberius played the long game. He acted slowly, spreading rumors of Sejanus' corruption and treachery among the Senate and Praetorian Guard. Allies of Sejanus, those he had relied on for years, were quietly turned against him. Meanwhile, Sejanus remained unaware of the trap being set. He believed his position was unshakable, his enemies irrelevant. But the emperor had one final move, a public betrayal that would shatter Sejanus' image and expose him as the villain of Rome. The moment of reckoning came when Tiberius sent a letter to the Senate, condemning Sejanus as a traitor. The news spread like wildfire. In an instant, the man who had ruled from the shadows was dragged into the light. The Praetorian Guard, his once loyal soldiers, turned against him, arresting him on the spot. The Senate, eager to erase Sejanus from history, declared him an enemy of Rome. His allies were hunted, his family executed, and his name became synonymous with betrayal and disgrace. But what made this downfall even more devastating was its swiftness. Sejanus had spent years building his empire, only to see it collapse in a single day. How could a man so powerful fail to see the storm brewing right before his eyes? And what does his story tell us about the true nature of power? Sejanus' downfall didn't just destroy him. It sent shockwaves through the entire empire. Rome, once governed by manipulation and fear, descended into a period of paranoia and political purges. Those who had once supported Sejanus were forced to prove their loyalty to Tiberius, often through bloodshed. The Praetorian Guard, which had been Sejanus' greatest tool, was reshaped into an instrument of imperial control. Trust became a rare commodity in Rome, as everyone wondered who might be the next to fall. But beyond the immediate aftermath, Sejanus' story left a lasting mark on Roman history. It became a cautionary tale about ambition unchecked and the dangers of consolidating power in a single man's hands. His rise revealed the cracks in Rome's political system, while his fall exposed how fragile power could be. Sejanus thought he had mastered the game of politics, but in truth, he was just another player destined to be outmaneuvered. What makes this story even more chilling is how timeless it feels. How many leaders throughout history have fallen victim to their own ambitions? How often do those in power fail to see the betrayal brewing around them? Sejanus' rise and fall remind us that power is never truly secure, no matter how high you climb. But is this the end of the story? Or does Sejanus' downfall reveal something even darker about the nature of Rome itself? What other secrets are buried in the ruins of an empire where ambition and betrayal walked hand in hand. If you've been fascinated by Sejanus' rise and fall, the story of ambition, betrayal, and the fragility of power, you'll love our next video on the Roman soldier who defied all odds. Meet Tarquinius, the warrior who never knew defeat. His legend of immortality mirrors the very same dangerous allure of power that Sejanus sought. Was Tarquinius truly invincible? Or is his myth just another twist in the tale of Roman history? Click now to uncover the truth behind the soldier who seemed unstoppable. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more epic insights into Rome's untold stories.